In the heart of the neon nightlife of the underground black market of Qing City, a hooded young man amidst the crowded streets covertly observes his surroundings before entering a shop. He informs the owner about his intention to sell a kidney and also a cornea, both amounting to 27,500 yuan. As the shop owner marks the items being purchased, he questioned the young man if he was serious. Because in the past 6 months, the same person had already sold a kidney, a spleen, a gallbladder, a part of the liver, 1/3 of his liver, and a part of his small and large intestines. If he was to sell another kidney, he won't last for more than 2 days. Lying on the stretcher, the guy calmly stated that it was fine. To save his seriously ill sister, any sacrifice was worth it. The shop owner gave up on trying to advise the poor guy and picked up a huge butcher's knife. He raised it high in the air, and without hesitation, went through the procedure, causing our poor fellow to scream in agony. After that, the supposed deadman walking headed back home with a stick to guide his way. His eyes were covered with bandages. He removed the bandage and checked the people around. He smiled when he found out no one was paying enough attention to him to follow him. He then used a regeneration effect to heal his wounds. He also pulled out a stack of cash he got from selling his cornea and kidney, silently declaring that the money, including the money he'd saved, should be enough for him to pay for the job transfer ritual. He was laughing while continuing walking as it turned out that all his reasons were just a lie, and he couldn't believe someone believed that horseshit he made up. His name is Ye Lin, and he's a transmigrator, a textbook orphan, and he doesn't have a sick sister. For context, the world he transmigrated into was overflowing with spiritual energy, full of demons and beasts everywhere. There are also countless dungeon realms. As an orphan, surviving in this new world was really tough, until he discovered his unique ability, his body regeneration. No matter how severe his injuries were, his body can fully recover within minutes, and even missing organs or limbs can regenerate. He used his regeneration to sell his own organs to save up 100,000 yuan just to pay for the expensive class change fee. Because only by going through the class transfer ritual and awakening his power can he become stronger. Only then can he stand firm in this perilous world and protect the ones he cares about, if he has any of course. And today was the big day for the class transfer ritual. When he arrived at the location, there was a group of 3 people who approached him, asking him why he had come. They knew him as a poor student, so they could not think of a reason why he could afford to attend the transfer ritual. Ye Lin held the lady's hand and spoke pitifully. "Miss Wang, in order to attend the transfer ritual, I had no choice but to take a class transfer loan." Of course, this was just a lie. Ye Lin didn't want anyone being suspicious of him. Miss Wang was shocked, and the guys with her were afraid that Ye Lin would be stuck working the rest of his life just to pay back the loan if he ended up with a useless profession. Luckily, Miss Wang permitted him to join and even wished for him to give all his best. She told him to go inside before the class transfer ritual would begin. After a few minutes, all the students who were participating in the class transfer gathered and were called one after another. The first participant was called Gao Dayu from class 5. Some students behind him gossiped that he's also not from a rich family. When Gao Dayu reached the stage, the principal instructed him to place his hand on the golden ball and relax his whole body. After just a minute, the principal declared that he obtained a support type class, which was an A-rank poultry breeder. The students then murmur that Gao Dayu will be a poultry breeder for the rest of his life. Don't get discouraged just because it's a support type class. There are only useless people, not useless classes, the principal stated calmly just to motivate Gao Dayu. The next student called was a lovely girl with an incredibly sexy figure, wearing a tight red dress and leather boots. She was Zhuge Nini, and everyone admired her so much. The moment she reached the stage, the principal then wished her luck. She thanked him and immediately placed her hand on the golden ball. A phoenix then appeared. The principal was surprised as it turned out Zhuge Nini got an SSS rank fire mage. Now, Arching City Academy can finally hold its head high, he added. The other students were also impressed, including Ye Lin. He knew that an SSS level fire mage could rival an entire army. After Zhuge Nini's class transfer, the principal then informed her he would discuss her training plan later with her since her SSS class was a big deal for their school. Zhuge Nini then went downstairs, and Ye Lin's name was called. While walking, Ye Lin heard everyone talking about him for getting a class change loan just for this ritual. Ye Lin slightly looked at Zhuge Nini and assured himself he was not going to be her or anyone's side character. Ye Lin positioned himself and put his hands on the golden ball. He has waited for this moment, wondering if he would still live a miserable life or defy fate. He was excited, waiting for his new class. Shockingly, a powerful azure dragon appeared. Ye Lin was shocked while staring at it, and a blue light wrapped his body, encasing him in a powerful glow. The students cannot believe that a student who got a class loan was lucky enough to get a powerful class. Zhuge Nini was also amazed, thinking that Ye Lin's class was another SSS rank. The principal was also glad, thinking that this was another anomaly. Ye Lin asked the principal about his class, and the principal then declared Ye Lin to be a combat class SSS level Forbidden Curse Master. Today, Ye Lin had also honored Qingqing Academy, and the academy was proud of him, the principal announced. However, before he could complete his words, he finally realized that Ye Lin had a Forbidden Curse Master profession. He was shocked as he really couldn't believe the poor student's rotten luck. The other students laughed at Ye Lin when they heard this news. You see, no Forbidden Curse Master, if any, had ever lived past the age of 25. Because the Forbidden Curse Master was the kind of profession that consumes one's own life to use a skill. Due to this, someone who has this profession always die young. Ye Lin's class was considered a trash class, and the mere thought of using a loan to acquire such a useless skill was truly tragic. Zhuge Nini decided to walk away. She sighed as she was disappointed with the class Ye Lin got. Ye Lin, ever the master of deception, feigned being down. His act was so convincing that the old guy felt sorry for him. He patted him on the back and wished him good luck. Although he's such a good kid, he's unfortunate to only get the Curse Master profession. Ye Lin then asked the principal if all Curse Masters really die at the age of 25. The principal just told him not to be negative, as it was better to burn brightly than to live a meaningless life. Ye Lin thanked the old guy, stating his desire to burn brightly like the sun, and also bring honor to the school. The principal then told him that he would make a special training for him together with Zhuge Nini. Ye Lin agreed to this and smiled knowingly. He found it funny that he would die early just because his profession was a double-edged sword. Thus, of course, if he didn't have a cheat ability to counter this death threat. This dying early thing for Curse Masters has got nothing on him and his immortality. After the class transfer, everyone decided to head back home. Ye Lin was planning to head straight back to his house. He was tired and wanted to have a good night's sleep. While walking, someone called him by his name. It was Zhuge Nini. She offered him to team up with her, as she believes that the more the Curse Master fights, the quicker they die. She told Ye Lin that her intention wasn't bad. She was just trying to help since they were classmates. However, Ye Lin refused to accept the offer. Zhuge Nini didn't force him at all. She walked away, stating that Ye Lin was such a stubborn idiot heading for death. Ye Lin ignored her and continued walking. But then, another group of students blocked his way and told him that he really thinks he has risen up just because he has switched to a Curse Master. These guys were Ye Lin's classmates, and they got mad as they could not accept Zhuge Nini's earlier offer to team up with him. Ye Lin was annoyed. Women really were troublesome. Because of just 2 lines from Zhuge Nini, these idiots were looking for trouble. Ye Lin replied that he was on his way back home. The guys laughed at Ye Lin's expense. Was the poor student referring to his 10 square meter shack a home? Ye Lin, now that you're SSS ranked, how about you call me daddy, and I'll get you a security job at G Corporation. The leader of the group mocked arrogantly. The others laughed, and added that being a G Corp security guard was a privilege. He also ordered Ye Lin to kneel before their young master. Once Ye Lin takes the offer and gets paid, he can buy some nice incense for his dead orphanage family. The 3 continued to tease Ye Lin, even stating that he was just an orphan who didn't deserve to have a family. Ye Lin was already mad, and as he stares at them with a serious look, his eyes flamed with a blue and red aura as he activates a curse magic power. He told the idiots that they were the ones who forced his hand. Confused at Ye Lin's willingness to use a curse magic, knowing full well of the implications, made the 3 idiot question what he was trying to do. Was he really going to use a curse magic and shorten his lifespan? Why wouldn't I? Ye Lin also questioned with a puzzled look. Didn't you fools speak of my dead family? Conjuring a slight lightning strike, Ye Lin's attack was only to scare them. The guys, now scared shitless of Ye Lin, pleaded about the need for their classmate not to use a forbidden curse on them. But Ye Lin simply stretched his hand and challenged the idiots to come at him if they dare. However, they decided to run away in fear. Ye Lin then deactivated his curse ability and uttered, "What a bunch of trash." They actually ran off with just 1 move. As he continued to walk, he felt like his duodenum was scorched. He wasn't aware that Zhuge Nini witnessed the commotion. She was annoyed that he was getting provoked by a few insults and was ready to throw his life away. She was sure that even if someone acted like Ye Lin, who isn't a curse user, they would definitely not go far. For her, Ye Lin wasn't worthy of standing beside her. The night came, and Ye Lin was already at his home. Ye Lin placed his bag down on the couch and sat while checking his system interface. Apparently, sacrificing a piece of duodenum would summon a regular lightning bolt. But sacrificing a bladder summons thunder from burial waters. Next, sacrificing a heart can summon destruction purple lightning. If that is the case, Ye Lin concludes he would die summoning the most powerful chaos god thunder. He lay down on his couch when he felt his head spinning, but he was aware that it was the side effects of his body recovery. At the same time, Ji Lingyu went to his father and asked to avenge him. He wanted his dad to send someone to take Ye Lin out. However, his father reminded him that killing an SSS-rank curse user was very risky, and there is no benefit in it for them. He's aware that someone who goes all out using forbidden spells, just because of a few insults, is clearly emotionally unstable. He snuffed out his cigarette on the ashtray and told his son not to forget that Ye Lin is from a poor background. He wants his son to learn how to use his greatest advantage to target the enemy's weakest spot. Early the next day, Ye Lin went to the Qingqing Academy. He kept yawning due to a lack of a well-deserved sleep. The students around started murmuring about what he'd done the day before when suddenly, someone tapped Ye Lin on the shoulder with a bottle. It was none other than Ji Lingyu. Inside the bottle was milk he brought as peace offering. He also brought breakfast for Ye Lin. Ye Lin was clueless as to why, but accepts the milk regardless. At first, he thought Ji Lingyu was trying to poison him just because he couldn't beat him. But the poor guy replied that he wouldn't dare. It was just his way of thanking him. "Thank me?" Ye Lin questioned with a skeptical look. "Yeah," Ji Lingyu replied with a forced smile. Ye Lin drank the milk and told Ji Lingyu to just say what he wants. Unexpectedly, Ji Lingyu stated that he was grateful that Ye Lin struck him like a bolt of lightning. Apparently, that lightning strike was Ji Lingyu's wake-up call. He also added that Ye Lin's appearance made him realize that he has been wasting his life in a daze. Ye Lin called Ji Lingyu on his bullshit and again, told the idiot to say what he really wants. Ji Lingyu suddenly kneeled and stated that he wants to call Ye Lin big brother. Ye Lin was shocked and questioned him if he happened to hit him in the head. But Ji Lingyu replied that he was serious, and that the beating he received the day before made him reflect on himself. He deeply reflected and wants to become a better person. But he needs a great role model. Ye Lin agreed to be his role model, but there need to be some tuition payment. Surprising enough, Ji Lingyu didn't refuse and immediately asked for Ye Lin's account number. Ye Lin headed to the field as he gave his account number. He told Ji Lingyu to transfer 2 million as a first-term tuition payment. When Ye Lin asked if it was too expensive, Ji Lingyu reassured him that it was not. He will inform his dad to send it right away. At this time, a novice secret realm opened on the field as a test for the students. The principal hopes all the candidates from each academy could perform well. Of course, everyone was wishing for their victory. Ye Lin and Zhuganini were in the front, so the old men beside the principal believed both students were from Qingqing High School, who got the SSS-Class profession for this year. For them, both looked extraordinary. The principal was annoyed, stating that he had already told Ye Lin and Zhuganini to keep a low profile. But these kids really don't know how to behave. 2 of them ended up getting SSS-Class jobs at once, and it seems to be just infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. Isn't it? He then laughed and turned to face the rest, questioning why they weren't saying anything. Were they all born mute or something? The 3 old guys walked away, saying they still had some things to do. As you might have guessed, it turns out they were annoyed by the principal for being full of himself and rubbing their faces in. Anyway, the moment entering the novice secret realm was issued, the examinees began to swamp the entrance like a tidal wave. Before Ye Lin could enter, Zhuganini asked him once again to team up with her. Still, Ye Lin refused, which made her think he was very arrogant. Since he was so eager to die, she won't stop him. Ye Lin ignored her and immediately entered the secret realm. As he landed, he noticed he was alone. No one was around, so he thought it was a random teleportation. A level 1 leopard cat then appeared. It roared, but Ye Lin wasn't scared at all, but rather excited. He believed it was a perfect enemy to test his forbidden spell. He then attacked it and instantly killed it without any struggle. Ye Lin was awarded 10 experience points, but he was disappointed, deeming it too little for him. He walked away while stating that it doesn't even justify the damage to his kidneys, and that he has to kill 100 of these leopard cat just to reach level 2, which is why he decided to figure something out. A while later, Ye Lin let 100 kinds of monsters chase him. As he ran, he couldn't stop smiling, believing this wave of monsters should be enough to give him a good amount of experience points. Some of these monsters have a human half-body. He stops running and turned to look at them, stating his desire to test his newly learned forbidden curse. He then casts his destructive surge. The curse was so terrifying that it increased Ye Lin's strength, agility, and spirit twofold. With burning reincarnation activated, he believes that even a level 10 monster probably couldn't withstand his full-powered world-ending thunderstrike. He then attacked some of the monsters, slashing them without any hesitation. He noticed he aged in just 5 minutes of using the skill, so he decided to stop using the Burning Reincarnation Forbidden Curse after about 1 minute at most, if he didn't want to reveal his undying body. He continued by using his Vitality Preservation. He sacrificed his left arm and tapped the ground as he activated his world-ending Fury Forbidden Curse. He killed a level 3 Grey Wolf and was rewarded with 30 experience points. Then a level 5 Two-Headed Snake and received 50 experience points. A level 6 Armored Scorpion and gained 60 experience points each for the 6 Centaur. And finally, a level 2 Killed Bee and gained 20 experience points. With that, he leveled up to level 3. He was satisfied and amazed with this development. He also learned a new Forbidden Curse, which was a Hellfire Scorches the Sky. An hour later, Zhuge Nini encountered the area where Ye Lin had killed all those monsters. She was shocked when she saw so many monsters incinerated to ash. She was in disbelief, wondering what had just happened. Then she noticed a hellfire. Confused, she checked it out regardless since she didn't know anyone who had the fire element in Qingqing besides her. But now there was such an intense fire element fluctuation. Also, the fire element wave might be even stronger than hers. She then saw something that gave her a hint that this commotion was surely caused by a human. Looks like Qingqing is full of hidden dragons. Zhuge Nini will definitely find out who you are. She vowed with determination. But at this moment nearby, Ye Lin was spending some time roasting some meat to eat. He was enjoying a three-eyed demon pig meat. He realized he was eating more than his usual since his body used up too much energy earlier. After eating, he then decided to head to a farther area and grind some more. When he was about to leave, Zhuge Nini suddenly appeared and called him. Ye Lin, what are you doing here? She asked. Ye Lin was annoyed that he'd ran into her. It was a hassle for him as he didn't want anyone to find out his secret. He smiled at her and replied that he was just casually roasting something to eat. Zhuge Nini then told him once more that a Forbidden Curse Masterclass was totally not suited for solo grinding. Ye Lin was annoyed when Zhuge Nini walked away, telling him it is too late for regrets now, and following her won't help him anymore. She really assumed Ye Lin was tagging along with her, so she told him she didn't have time to team up with him anymore. Ye Lin was thinking Zhuge Nini might be missing a few brain cells. Zhuge Nini, on the other hand, looked back at him and asked him if he had seen anyone else pass the area, and she stated that that person is extremely powerful, very skilled with fire element manipulation, and likely mastered Hellfire. Hellfire? Yeah, I saw him. He was a very handsome guy. He went that way, Ye Lin replied calmly. He knew he could not let Zhuge Nini cling to him, so he decided not to use the Hellfire spell anymore going forward. As Zhuge Nini continued walking, she blamed Ye Lin for wasting her time. Otherwise, she would have found the Hellfire user by now. She noticed a shadow looming above her, but when she raised her head, she was shocked to see a level 8 Dragonblood behemoth. She dodged when it tried to attack her. Zhuge Nini was puzzled as to why a level 8 monster would appear in the area she was. She looked behind her, deducing that Ye Lin might have run away far by now. She then attacked the monster with her Fireball Storm. However, it didn't deal much damage, not enough to kill the monster. The monster looked at her with anger. It charged toward her at a fast speed and bumped her, trashing her away. She fights back with her flame, but the monster roared, blowing the flame back at her. Zhuge Nini was dumbfounded as all the flames hit her. The monster stood there as the smoke settles. When it eventually did, Zhuge Nini was on the ground with her clothes ripped, trembling in pain. She admitted that she was too arrogant to believe that she can definitely defeat a level 8 Dragonblood behemoth in this secret realm. She was afraid she would die at the hands of the level 8 monster, knowing it would be a humiliating death. Lucky for her, someone intervened and attacked the monster using a Forbidden Curse Hellfire. The poor monster was literally burned to ash. As expected, Zhuge Nini was shocked, knowing this Hellfire user was the one she was searching for. Turning to face her savior, Zhuge Nini thanked this mysterious person and wanted to know his name. The questionable masked individual was none other than Ye Lin. Ye Lin was standing on a tree branch with a mask. He told Zhuge Nini to call him Ling Yi, which meant early dawn and night. Ling for early dawn, Yi for night. Placing a finger on her lips, Zhuge Nini acted all pitiful and curious, asking the mysterious Ling Yi which school he was from. Although she was grateful to her savior, she also wanted to know who exactly was underneath that mask. So she concealed her intentions by stating she simply wanted to thank Ye Lin properly when they exit the dungeon. Ye Lin just stared at her like she was an idiot. He didn't need her fucking thanks. He told Zhuge Nini that there was no need to thank him. It was just the small effort after all. Anyway, the moment Ye Lin was about to bounce, Zhuge Nini pleaded for him to wait. She tried to get on her feet, but Ye Lin told her not to follow him. There are even stronger monsters ahead, and it was definitely not a place for someone of her strength to step into. Also, she might want to put her clothes back on properly before anything else. This sudden revelation drew Zhuganini's attention to the current state of her clothes. She blushed in embarrassment and laid on the ground to cover herself, wishing the ground could swallow her whole. When she raised her head, she realized the mysterious Ling Yi was gone. Zhuganini shouts Ling Yi's name, vowing to catch up to him one day. She will stand proudly by his side. Ye Lin, on the other hand, seamlessly leaped from one tree branch to the next, and after putting some distance between himself and Zhuganini, he believes what just happened would keep Zhuganini from clinging to him. He'd wasted time on her and needed to hurry up and level up. Opening his status window, Ye Lin saw that he'd gotten a new forbidden curse named Undying. He needed to sacrifice 2.5 years of his lifespan to negate one fatal injury. Seriously, what the hell? The Forbidden Spellcaster really is a short-lived class, always screwing with a person's lifespan. But this skill was practically an added bonus for Ye Lin. With this forbidden curse, Ye Lin can negate one fatal blow. That also meant even if someone stabs him in the heart from behind, he wouldn't be bothered. What's more, with this, even forbidden curses that required sacrificing the heart or his freaking head, he can actively use them once. This was just too freaking good. Now, he can grind levels recklessly without restraint. Nobody can stop his leveling pace. 3 days later, which also happens to be the last day of the test, the old guys gather at the entrance of the novice secret realm. The principal of Qingcheng Academy greeted his old mates with his usual condescending demeanor. The short-hair man among them, Principal Su, questioned what the principal was showing off for. So what if he has 2 SSS-rank job changers? Exactly, the other added. Level can be more important than class rank sometimes. The red-haired also agreed, adding that the highest record for Qingcheng's secret realm test was level 11, which still remained unbroken. He shifted his gaze towards Principal Su, stating that if he remembered correctly, that student was from Principal Su's Yutsai Academy. Principal Su replied that the red-haired principal was right. He also wondered if the record will be broken this year. The principal of Qingcheng Academy added that they will see. He believes his student can definitely surprise everyone. Just then, someone unexpected suddenly appeared at the scene and greeted the principals. He asked if he could join them. This person was Zhuge Qianxing, Zhuganini's father. Surprised to see Zhuge Qianxing, Principal Su stated that it had been a long time. The principal of Qingcheng Academy added that it was an honor. After all, Zhuge Qianxing was their school's astrologer. With pleasantries out of the way, Zhuge Qianxing asked about his daughter, wondering if she caused any trouble for the principal. Seeing how Zhuge Qianxing dotes on her daughter, the principal replied calmly, "No, not at all. Zhuganini is the pride of our Qianxing Academy." But just then, they noticed someone coming out of the dungeon. The time for the dungeon wasn't up yet, but someone was already coming out. The principal of Qingcheng Academy deduced that the person must be injured. This person turned out to be none other than Zhuganini, who greeted the principals and was surprised to see her father. Her father wanted to know the reason why she came out early, and her principal wanted to know the level she was at. Zhuganini calmly stated that she was at level 12, which shocked all the principals present. With the record broken just like that, her principal was very proud. His student was worthy of being a fire mage. Zhuge Qianxing approached her daughter and stated that she was too willful. After all, if she had stayed inside the dungeon and grind some more before coming out, she would have definitely shot up to level 13. Zhuganini replied her father that the dungeon just became too boring. It took her ages to find monsters around level 10, and the experience reward was also pitifully small. But in all honesty, the real reason Zhuganini came out early was to find Ling Yi. Being the first to come out meant she could see everyone who comes out afterward. Meanwhile, back inside the secret realm, Ye Lin suddenly sneezed heavily like he already had a cold. He found this behavior strange since the area he currently wasn't cold. So why did he suddenly sneeze like that? Was someone cursing him? With level 10 area monsters all gone, could it be that he grind too hard? It looks like he needs to expand his search range. Ye Lin raised his hand and decided to try out another new forbidden curse he'd learned, instantaneous range. This forbidden curse casting sacrifices an organ based on the organ's importance. He can also gain agility with its maximum being 10 times extra agility of an hour duration. Ye Lin spared no time activating this forbidden curse of 10-time agility, sacrificing his kidney. The feeling was awesome. Even a level 50 assassin couldn't possibly have such speed. Moving like a bolt of lightning, Ye Lin made an insane dash forward, creating a sonic boom and destroying everything in his path. He was so fast that before a 3-headed storm mantis monster felt his presence, it was too late. Ye Lin sacrificed his bladder, summoning a bolt of lightning which incinerated the monster into ash. This forbidden spell was the Ashen Fierce Thunder. Back at the entrance of the Novice Secret Realm, many students exit the dungeon in droves, some in excitement, and others in fear to finally escape with their lives. However, all this while, Zhuge had been patiently waiting at the entrance, hoping to see Ling Yi. But after a long while, she found it strange that he hadn't appeared yet. There was only 5 minutes left, and all the candidates who had completed the test were asked to return to their designated school area. With the test ending soon, it looks like the highest record this year would belong to Zhuge. This meant that Qingqing Academy got really lucky this year besides the acquisition of 2 SSS rank students at a go. But speaking of Qingqing Academy's SSS rank students, the other had yet to exit the secret realm, right? The countdown time had 3 minutes left, and the moment Zhuge heard this, she wondered if she had perhaps missed her target exiting the dungeon. But after briefly thinking it over, she found it to be impossible. She had been staring at the dungeon's entrance the moment she got out. In that moment, the entrance of the secret realm began to shimmer with a golden glow, indicating that someone was coming out. Seeing this, Zhuge was certain it must be Ling Yi, but was surprised when it turned out to be her classmate Ye Lin. Shocked, she asked why. Why was it Ye Lin? Ye Lin was puzzled with this stupid question. The time was up, so of course he had to exit the dungeon. Was there a problem? Zhuge got over her initial shock and began to walk away. She told Ye Lin that he was a coward and should stay away from him. Hearing this, Ye Lin gritted his teeth in annoyance. Seriously, what's wrong with this bitch? Was she a psycho? His principal approached him at this moment and asked what level he was at. He didn't have much expectation and was just curious as to what level his second SSS rank student was at. Ye Lin calmly replied that he was at level 16. The crowd present was stunned. You see, leveling up from 1 to 16 requires a total of 120,000 experience points. And the highest level monster in the Novice Secret Realm was level 10. Killing level 10 monsters gives 100 XP, meaning Ye Lin killed 1,200 level 10 monsters. How was that even possible? The principal suddenly began praising Ye Lin like crazy, stating that he was the pride of Qingqing Academy. Surprised with the young man's talent, Zhuge Qianqing also congratulated Ye Lin. This annoyed his daughter. She coldly remarked, "With Ye Lin's profession, what's so special about being level 16? Ye Lin was a forbidden curse master. If he recklessly uses forbidden curses, isn't it normal for him to level up quickly?" When the other principals heard Ye Lin's profession, they found Zhuge explanation reasonable. The rest of the crowd also believe Ye Lin must be crazy when they heard of his profession, frantically casting forbidden curses in the beginner's secret realm to level up. Other curse masters don't live past 25, and the way Ye Lin was leveling up meant he probably won't make it to 20. Seriously, trading one's life for empty fame, truly a foolish behavior. Some also believed Ye Lin was frantically leveling up just so they'll envy him. But he will pay with his life eventually, so they should let him have his glory for a few days. The long-haired principal approached Ye Lin and questioned earnestly, "Student Ye Lin, why bother? Tell me honestly, did Principal Gao put you up to this? It seems you've been deceived. Principal Gao is trading your life for the school's honor." Irritated, Principal Gao asked what nonsense his old mate was spouting. He was a person of integrity. How could he possibly joke with the lives of his students? Ye Lin finally spoke after putting on a pitiful act. He stated that nobody forced him. It was all voluntary. "I grew up in a poor family and was always looked down upon. Now that I have the chance to go all out, I won't be a coward. Even if I wither at my most brilliant moment, I don't care. I want everyone to know that I can do it." The moment Ye Lin finished his emotional speech, Zhuge Qianqing clapped and stated calmly, "Well said. This young guy truly has grand ambitions. In any case, he's the highest level student in this beginner's secret realm test. That's undeniable, isn't it? He's number 1. Zhuge Qianqing introduced himself to Ye Lin as the father of Zhuge. If Ye Lin needs anything in the future, he can contact him. Zhuge was pissed off when she heard this, questioning her father why he believes Ye Lin was number 1. When Ling Yi comes out, his level will definitely not be lower than Ye Lin's. "Oh, is that so?" his father retorted, although his tone was smoothing. "Who is this talented Ling Yi?" Hearing this question, the principals began asking themselves if any of them had a student by that name. However, none of them seemed to have heard of this student. But Zhuge still spoke confidently that Ling Yi was a true heaven's pride, and when he comes out of the dungeon, everything will be proven. Meanwhile, inwardly, Ye Lin was again insulting Zhuge as a stupid bitch. She just couldn't keep her freaking mouth shut. Having enough of this farce, Ye Lin said his goodbye to Principal Gao and Zhuge Qianqing before taking his leave. He wanted to go home and rest well. Shortly after that, the time was up and the novice secret realm test was over. But Zhuganini was puzzled with this outcome. Where was Ling Yi? Could it be that while I was talking to Ye Lin, Ling Yi quietly slipped away? Cursing, Zhuganini started blaming Ye Lin. She believed Ling Yi's escape was Ye Lin's fault. When her father placed a hand on her shoulder, she asked if he believes him. Ling Yi was truly a genius and even saved her life. Zhuge Qianxing figured out that her daughter's early exit from the dungeon was simply to find this mysterious Ling Yi. But this was a bit strange. He asked Zhuganini if it was possible that Ye Lin was the mysterious Ling Yi she had been looking for. Hearing this, Zhuganini vehemently denied this possibility. What was her father thinking? How could that coward be compared to Ling Yi? Ye Lin saw the dragon blood behemoth she faced in the dungeon and ran away in terror like a coward. And Ling Yi's mastery of the fire element was extremely high. How can Ye Lin of all people know about stuff like that? Meanwhile, back inside his apartment, Ye Lin let out another heavy sneeze which jolted him awake. He wondered who was talking behind his back. Seriously, it must be that stupid woman Zhuganini. Just then, a knock on his door drew his attention. Ye Lin asked who the person was, and the moment he opened the door, he questioned the fat business guy in front of him. The fat guy introduced himself as Wang. Mr. Wang, the manager of Qingcheng Brain King Oral Liquid Limited Company. He had been searching for Ye Lin for a while, and now he'd finally found him. The moment Ye Lin led Mr. Wang inside his apartment, he questioned what he was there for. Mr. Wang replied that he's got good news for Ye Lin. He heard Ye Lin successfully changed profession and even broke the highest level record in Qingcheng's beginner's secret realm. So his company was sincerely inviting him to endorse their product. Of course, the remuneration will definitely be substantial. Ye Lin asked how much exactly was substantial. Mr. Wang raised 3 fingers which implied 3 million. He hands Ye Lin a tiny bottle, telling him to try it. It was the company's new product, a Brain King oral liquid, and not only does it nourish the brain and enhance intelligence, but it also promotes cell regeneration. Consuming 1 bottle and a person would feel several years younger. Also, this century-old enterprise had a 10 times refund guarantee if the drug is proven ineffective. Ye Lin should try it. Ye Lin opened the cap of the bottle, knowing full well 3 million was worth several of his kidneys. It looks like fame really does pay. He drank the content in the bottle, which tasted a little sweet. Then he suddenly felt dizzy. Ye Lin passed out immediately after. Lying in his couch, Mr. Wang called someone on the phone and told the person that Ye Lin drank the content in the bottle. He prepared backup plans, but they weren't even needed. It seems Ye Lin was a simple fool. Mr. Wang was ordered to bring Ye Lin over. A while later, deep into the night at an unspecified location, inside an abandoned warehouse, Mr. Wang had successfully brought Ye Lin to his boss. Although he doesn't understand why his boss was going through such lengths from a mere student, he knows he didn't have the right to ask questions. His boss, who happens to be the shop owner in the black market Ye Lin used to sell his organs to, told Mr. Wang to leave. Without his orders, no one should be allowed in. If anyone violates this order, they will be killed. Mr. Wang replied he understands and left the warehouse. The greedy shop owner crouched beside Ye Lin, recalling how Ye Lin sold him his liver, coronary arteries, gallbladder, corneas, kidneys, spleen, large intestine, small intestine. And surprising enough, they've all grown back. The organs Ye Lin previously sold to him have all regenerated. Incredible. This is simply incredible. With Ye Lin, he can master the secret of organ regeneration. As he got drunk on his delusional fantasies, someone added that the old bastard will have supreme power and wealth. Even the most powerful people will kneel before him. Hearing this, the old bastard Ji Yuzhen agreed. Exactly. But the moment he said this, he realized what just happened. Turning around, he was stunned to find Ye Lin casually sitting on a chair with his arms and leg crossed. Ji Yuzhen wondered how it was possible. How was Ye Lin awake this early? His sleeping drug could keep even an elephant unconscious for 6 hours. But Ye Lin was not concerned about the stupid sleeping potion. He was more curious about how Ji Yuzhen managed to track him down. Ji Yuzhen got over his initial shock, pointed his blade at Ye Lin, and stated that since his cash cow was awake, he won't be polite anymore. He should surrender obediently, and he will guarantee Ye Lin won't lose any limb. Ji Yuzhen's profession was currently a level 20 phantom blade. Ye Lin realized Geogans also had a job change with a higher level than his own. Left with no choice, he decided to get serious. He knew using fire element would easily burn this entire place down, so it was better not to cause too much commotion. Ye Lin decided to use his eternal freezing gaze. It was a forbidden curse that sacrifices his eyeballs to freeze everything within sight before becoming blind. Petrified, Ji Yuzhen was shocked to find the entire lower half of his body frozen. Ye Lin kept the spell active as the ice around Ji Yugen started extending. Ji Yugen wondered what's going on. What kind of spell was it? He plunged his blade into the ice around him, but was unable to break it. His eyes widened when the ice finally encased his entire body, leaving only his head. Ji Yugen kept muttering that it was impossible. Ye Lin was only at level 16 while he was at level 20. Even if Ye Lin was a forbidden curse master, he couldn't possibly defeat him in one strike. What kind of monster was he? Now that Ji Yugen was trapped in place, Ye Lin can have a proper chat with him. He asked Ji Yugen who else knew about his organ regeneration ability. Ji Yugen replied that besides him, no one knew. After all, with such amazing discovery, why would he tell someone else? Hearing this, Ye Lin chose to believe the old bastard and decide to make his death quick and painless. He raised his fist and smashed the poor old bastard into broken ice lollies. Also, after consuming all the sleeping drug, he decided to sacrifice his stomach first. Sacrificing his stomach, Ye Lin rained lightning on the guards outside. He left one alive for questioning. The poor fatty didn't want to die, so the moment Ye Lin asked who was his boss behind the scenes, he initially tried to reason with Ye Lin that he couldn't say, otherwise he would be killed. But after seeing Ye Lin enveloped with lightning sparks, he spoke up immediately. Their boss was king of Qingcheng Underground Market, Kensen. The poor fatty was struck with a bolt of lightning the moment he was done talking. Grabbing his chin, Ye Lin walked away, trying to recall where he'd heard Kensen. The name seems familiar. It didn't take much effort to recall that Kensen was one of Qingcheng City's top 10 outstanding philanthropists. This just got complicated. Meanwhile, elsewhere at Qingcheng's underground black market, a middle-aged man with a thick cigar lounged in a leather sofa as one of his men informed him about some urgent news. This fucker was Kensen, and with his brows furrowed, he was shocked upon receiving news that all contact with his agent, Jihu, had been lost. The bald fellow informed him that they hadn't been able to contact Jihu for half an hour, so they went to his farmhouse, only to find the entire area burned to the ground. And judging by the wreckage from the fire, it was done by a job holder. Kensen grew furious and stumped on the table in front of him, wrecking it. He ordered his men to find the culprit immediately, with no delay. The next day, Ye Lin arrived at the grand residence of the Ji family, where he was warmly welcomed by Ji Lingyu, who had become a loyal follower after their previous encounter. As soon as he heard that Ye Lin was visiting, he immediately sent someone to pick him up. Ji Lingyu shyly brought up the 2 million yuan that Ye Lin had asked for earlier, adding that he'd already talked to his father. However, Ye Lin interrupted him, questioning if Ji Lingyu was trying to disrespect him talking about money in that moment. Since he'd agreed to accept Ji Lingyu as an underling, money was just a small matter. Hearing this, Ji Lingyu placed an arm around Ye Lin's shoulders and welcomed him wholeheartedly. From now on, Ye Lin should consider his home as his as well. Inwardly, Ji Lingyu realized that his father was right. He believes Ye Lin was a simple-minded guy who cared a lot about his dignity, so as long as he can exploit that, then he should be able to achieve his goal. Ye Lin, on the other hand, had planned this encounter with the purpose of using the Ji family as a shield against Kensen and his men. He was sure Kensen wouldn't dare attack him inside the Ji family estate. Ye Lin entered the house and was surprised to find a large number of maids lined up, greeting him politely and respectfully, which left him a bit speechless. He looked at the maids and thought to himself how different life was when one had wealth. Ji Lingyu offered to assign one of the maids to be Ye Lin's personal servant, and Ye Lin accepted the offer. But soon after, Ye Lin felt embarrassed and refused, saying he was only joking. However, Ji Lingyu insisted, adding that his boss should also change his clothes for something important. Ye Lin eagerly asked what the important matter was, but Ji Lingyu told him to wait until they arrived at the destination. Eventually, they arrived at the annual Qingcheng auction, and Ji Lingyu informed him that this was the grand venue he had never visited before. Upon arriving at the annual auction in Qingcheng City, Ji Lingyu told Ye Lin that he would later introduce him to some of the city's most important figures, but Ye Lin preferred to start with food, and told Ji Lingyu to go about his own business and not mind him. Internally, Ji Lingyu sarcastically commented on Ye Lin's simplicity and naivety, thinking he still lacked experience due to his poor upbringing. As Ye Lin ate heartily, especially since he had previously sacrificed his stomach and now needed to compensate by eating more, he heard a voice beside him asking why he was here. When he turned around, he saw Zhuganini and her friend Lu Yanwei standing there. Lu Yanwei asked Zhuganini who Ye Lin was. Ye Lin felt annoyed seeing Zhuganini again, wondering to himself why this stupid woman keeps showing up in front of him all the time. Zhuganini responded to her friend with displeasure, stating that Ye Lin was just the coward who ran from the monster in the novice secret realm, expressing her frustration at seeing him again. Zhuganini deems Ye Lin as bad luck. Ye Lin smirked inwardly, wondering what Zhuganini's face would look like if she discovered he was actually Ling Yi, the very person she admires deeply. Ji Lingyu arrived with a group of friends to proudly introduce them to Ye Lin, presenting him as his superior. The group was surprised by this, and in a mocking tone, stated that Ji Lingyu should be the one in charge. However, Ji Lingyu firmly responded that Ye Lin was no ordinary person and that his level was now very high. Everyone was stunned to learn that Ye Lin had reached level 16 in the novice secret realm. Shocked by the huge gap between his level and their own modest ones, Ye Lin calmly advised them not to be too surprised and expressed his willingness to help them level up. If only they could get out of the city, then they could all get good results in the upcoming major exam. Everyone became excited upon hearing that Ye Lin was willing to help them, but Ji Lingyu expressed concern because they were forbidden from leaving the city before the major exam, to prevent students from gaining assistance from stronger individuals. Ye Lin then subtly hinted that the journey to the exam site itself might be a good opportunity for leveling up, though he voiced concern about lacking equipment. Ji Lingyu quickly reassured him that equipment would not be a problem at all and promised to provide anything he needed from the current auction. Ye Lin was surprised by the offer, but Ji Lingyu assured him that his father would financially support them no matter the cost if it would improve his exam performance. The auction began with the appearance of the beautiful hostess, who welcomed the attendees and introduced herself as Qingqing from the auction house. She wished everyone success in obtaining what they desire, and a warm applause ensued seconds after. Without delay, Qingqing presented the first item, an epic fire-type skill scroll for mages, starting the bid at 500,000 yuan. The bids rose quickly until they suddenly reached 3 million yuan, and the bidder behind this massive offer was none other than Zhuge Qianqing, Zhuganini's father. Ye Lin watched the scene calmly with a smile, realizing that Zhuge Qianqing was spending generously to buy skills for his daughter, but deep down he felt satisfied with himself. After all, as a master of forbidden curses, he didn't need such scrolls at all because his skills were all-powerful curses. Ye Lin turned to Ji Lingyu and whispered, "Your profession is an A-rank shadow blade, right? If something pops up that suits your class, don't hesitate. Bid right away. The right skill might save your life later." The auctioneer smiled, her voice crisp and clear. Next up, an item of rare quality, the Royal Dragon Wish Ring. It increases spirit by 30% and grants the passive skill, Dragon's Aura. The starting bid was 2 million and the minimum raise 100,000. Ladies and gentlemen, place your bids. The crowd erupted and the first bid was 2.5 million, then raised to 3 million, then 3.1. Bids began to pour in rapid succession. Ye Lin's eyes sparkled. A 30% spirit boost? That's huge. For any awakened fighter, that's a game changer. He edged Lingyu to bid for the ring. Ji Lingyu leaned toward his father and told him that he wanted that ring. His father didn't even hesitate. 8 million. He believes that spending 8 million to help his son ace the national exam and enter into a prestigious university is worth the money. And about Ye Lin, he was a forbidden caster and won't live long anyway. So after a few years, he will be dead and every equipment purchased for him will eventually end up returning to the Ji family. The auctioneer raised her voice, wanting to know if anyone was willing to offer a higher bid. In that moment, it seemed that no one wanted to bid more than 8 million, when suddenly, a bid of 10 million was announced from behind. The room fell silent as Kenson's tall and imposing figure stepped into view. He called out President Ji and asked how he was doing. It's no surprise that the two know each other very well. And the moment the underground king was noticed, gasps echoed across the room. Everyone was curious as to why he was there since this wasn't his usual crowd. On the other hand, Ye Lin instinctively stepped back into the crowd after finally meeting Kenson. Even if it's in passing, he can't be discovered. President Ji was curious to know what exactly his G group has done to offend Kenson. Kenson chuckled darkly and narrowed his eyes as he points a finger at President Ji. Kenson stated that President Ji had his men killed, and now he wants him to be polite about it. President Ji stayed calm and replied that he doesn't know what Kenson was talking about, but if he was looking for a fight, then his G group was not easy to bully. He then bids 12 million. Kenson's face twisted into a smile. He'd received the message loud and clear. They'll see who lasts until the very end. On his way out, he muttered to his assistant if he'd verified the car from the warehouse. The guy nodded and replied that there was no doubt that it was from G Group. They followed it straight back to G family's villa that evening. Kenson's face darkens upon this confirmation. He coldly stated that President Ji shouldn't blame him for what he's about to do. Moments later, the Royal Dragon Wish Ring was sold for 12 million. President Ji offered Ye Lin the ring and asked if he likes it. Ye Lin replied that he does and thanked him. Ji Lingyu leaned over and asked his father who Kenson was. His father replied that Kenson was the underworld king who's been trying to go legit. But now he'd suddenly set his eyes on their family's empire. Kenson didn't look like the type of guy to make idle threats, so Ye Lin warns President Ji that although the Ji group was powerful and often attracts unwanted attention, it wouldn't hurt to stay alert and being careful. Hearing this, President Ji agreed. The Emperor Dragon Rui ring increases spiritual attribute by 30%. The user of the ring was blessed by dragon energy, and their luck will increase by 10. Ye Lin slipped the ring onto his finger and got a rush of energy surged through him. His spirit stats shot up by 30% and his luck also increased by 10. Excited, he assured President Ji not to worry. Even if he had to force his son, he will make sure Ji Lingyu gets into a prestigious academy. President Ji chuckled, stating that they were all family now, so Ye Lin did not need to be overly formal. He and his son were practically brothers. Whatever equipment Ye Lin likes, he should just tell him. Throughout the night, President Ji kept bidding like crazy. Ji Lingyu was completely exhausted when the auction came to an end, and it seems his father cleaned up this year's auction. Anything that caught Ye Lin's eye, they placed their bid without question, racking up several precious items. Items like the Azure Thunder Ring boosts spirit by 15% and increases the power of all lightning-based skills by 20%. The Molten Moon necklace had 200 spirit bonus for mental-based casters. The Twin Yin-Yang bracelet gives 40 spiritual attributes, and wearing it unlocks both Cycle of Duality and a passive healing factor that rapidly heals injuries over time. Ye Lin's eyes sparkled, knowing full well that even if someone sees him regenerating, he now has a solid excuse. Then he picked up the prize of the night, the Falling Star Warblade. It has a 300 increase in strength, and under starlight its power stacks over time with an additional 100. Ye Lin nearly shivered in excitement. With this blade, he can finally unleash the forbidden technique he had unlocked at level 10. Then there's the Lifespan Blade Arts. With every swing, 1 year of Ye Lin's life would be sacrificed. Also, each strike was twice as powerful as the last. This stacks up to a maximum of 99. With this sword, Ye Lin can dominate the upcoming major exams. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Zhuge Nini lay back in her private bath, annoyed. She still doesn't understand why the Ji family liked that coward Ye Lin so much. They spent so much money on him. Zhuge Nini suspects that the Ji family must be scheming something in secret. Otherwise, why pamper Ye Lin like some priced jewel? In that moment, a female housekeeper announced to Zhuge Nini that Lu Yanwei was there to see her. She brought someone who says they have information about the person she's been searching for. Zhuge Nini's eyes lit up. The person she's been looking for was obviously Ling Yi. She told the housekeeper to make them wait in the lounging room. She will be there shortly. She hurried downstairs, eager to know any information about Ling Yi. Lu Yanwei gestured toward the man beside her. This is Officer Huang. He was from the Investigation Bureau. He says he has news about Ling Yu. Officer Huang nodded politely and confirmed this, but he's afraid it wasn't good news. Zhuge Nini's heart skipped and questioned what Officer Huang meant. With a serious expression, Officer Huang showed Zhuge Nini something on his phone. A farmhouse outside Qingqing was burned down and there were several casualties. They also found traces of hellfire at the scene. And based on Zhuge Nini's previous description, they suspect the culprit might be the mysterious Ling Yi Zhuge Nini mentioned. The Bureau would like her to assist in the investigation. Hearing this, Zhuge Nini immediately jumped to Ling Yi's defense, shouting that he wasn't a killer. He saved her life. Zhuge Nini was not having it, and no one could make her believe that Ling Yi was a murderer without real evidence. Besides, why would a murderer risk his life to save her back then? Lu Yanwei quickly moved to calm her friend, and Officer Huang continued calmly. He understands her reaction, but the statement she gave was that Ling Yi used hellfire to obliterate an 8th-tier beast with a single attack. But during their investigation, there was no trace of anyone named Ling Yi. However, there's one individual who caught their attention. Officer Huang's tone dropped lower, and based on what they've gathered, this person may very well be her mysterious Ling Yi. Officer Huang added that their investigation also showed a high possibility that Ye Lin was Ling Yi. Zhuge Nini's eyes widened as the words sank in, but she immediately rejected this possibility. Ye Lin, that coward? No way. That guy always run away at the sight of danger. How can that coward be Ling Yi? And besides, Ye Lin wasn't capable of using hellfire. Activating his lie detection skill, Officer Huang's pupils shimmered with a faint blue light. He asked Zhuge Nini if she was absolutely certain. Without hesitation, Zhuge Nini answered that she was sure. She was the only one who's ever seen Ling Yi with her own eyes, and there was no way that coward could be Ling Yi. Officer Huang had never been wrong with his lie detection, so it seems Zhuge Nini was telling the truth. Ye Lin might not be their suspect after all. He nodded politely and thanked Zhuge Nini for her cooperation. If anything else comes up, she should inform him immediately. Meanwhile, Ye Lin had other priorities. It was time to test his new gear. Ye Lin led him to the official Awakened Association Center, the central training facility in Qingcheng. A receptionist welcomed them and questioned if they would like to conduct a training for that evening. Ye Lin confirms this, adding that his boss wants to test his new equipment. Hearing this, she asked Ye Lin what his level was. Ye Lin replied confidently that he was level 16. The lady then explains that the facility has standard training room for under 20 awakeners, priced at 100,000 yuan per hour. It also includes basic force analysis and mana calibration. Ye Lin told her he wanted a training room for level 40 or below. The receptionist was stunned for a moment, then nodded in understanding. Ye Lin waited outside as the receptionist led Ye Lin into the training room. The training room was very spacious, as big as a basketball court, with a row of dummies in the middle. According to the lady, the training room was made of special materials and was built by an SS-level builder. It can withstand the full force attack of job changers below level 40. This also applies to the dummies. It's extremely difficult for job changers below level 40 to leave marks on the dummies. The moment the door was locked, Ye Lin walked around and carefully checked the training room, and after confirming that there were no surveillance cameras, he visibly relaxed, then drew out his falling star warblade. Ye Lin made a dash forward, deciding to try Yangshuo sword technique, which consumes a year of his life with every strike. Ye Lin leaped high in the air, grasped the falling star warblade tightly, and instantly entered a mysterious state. The moment he swung the sword, his eyes became firm and deep. The first strike of the sword was followed by a deafening bang in the training room, as if something was completely torn apart. A bright light flashed on the blade of the falling star warblade, which was Ye Lin's burning life. After the first slash was made, the second slash that followed was even sharper and more powerful, and the air in the training room seemed like it's been slashed, forming an invisible sword energy. The third slash followed, then fourth and the fifth. Ye Lin's sword swinging speed was getting faster and faster, and each strike was more powerful than the last. When Ye Lin swung the sword for the 99th time, the entire training room seemed to be shaking, and strong energy fluctuations filled the air. At that moment, it was earth-shattering, and an unprecedented light burst out from the blade of the falling star warblade, illuminating the entire training room. An invisible blade energy gushed out from the blade and instantly slashed towards the dummies in front, tearing them apart. After stacking 99 layers of Yangshuo sword technique, each of his sword slash was extremely terrifying. At this moment, Ye Lin was like a god of war, after he'd slashed hundreds of times in succession. With a clang, the dummies that was said to be able to block the full force attack of job changers below level 40 laid broken on the floor. As Ye Lin carried on, testing the rest of the equipment together with his forbidden spells, a slight tremor could be felt outside. Ye Lin explained to the lady that there was a major exams approaching, so Ye Lin likes to get a little bit crazy when he starts training. The two were interrupted the moment Ye Lin walked out of the training room with satisfaction. With his two forbidden spells of Burning Reincarnation and Longevity Sword Technique, coupled with the sword and the rest of the equipment, he had a rough estimate of his current strength. Ye Lin was curious as to why Ye Lin came out so soon. Ye Lin replied that he was exhausted and needed to head back and rest. Also, he wanted to know if he doesn't need to pay for breaking things in the training room. The lady initially thought Ye Lin was joking. After all, the training room was suitable for job changers below level 40. And if Ye Lin, a level 16 job changer, can damage the things inside, then it means the quality is not up to standard. How can she ask him to pay for it? Relieved, Ye Lin quickly led Ye Lin out of there as the lady went into the training room to check. When she found out that almost everything in the training room was completely wrecked, she covered her mouth in shock. The dummies were slashed and charred, and not a single dummy was left standing. Meanwhile, back at the Ji family residence, the two guards stationed at the entrance were suddenly attacked by an unknown enemy. The neck of one of the guard was pierced with a thin needle coated in poison. As the guard clutched his neck in pain, the other, seeing this, was alarmed and asked what was wrong. Unbeknownst to him, a pair of hands suddenly emerged from the shadows behind him, and just like that, his neck was snapped horribly from behind. Screams and bloodshed followed shortly after as the scene pans to President Ji, who was currently at his study when he heard all the commotion outside. He wondered what was going on. But just then, the old housekeeper, a bit bloodied and bruised, opened the office door and told his master to run. He was about to explain when suddenly, a knife stabbed into his body along his lower back. He screamed in pain as his vitality quickly slipped away. The person responsible for this massacre finally came to view, and it was obviously none other than Kenson. "We meet again," he said, mocking President Ji. President Ji was furious as he took out his gun. But before he could even fire a shot, A long knife with a cold glow flashed by like lightning and under President Ji's incredulous gaze. His hands had already flown high into the air. Kensen smiled with disdain on his face. He called President Ji a fool for using a gun against a job changer. Seriously, was he having a brain glitch or something? You see, guns were okay in dealing with those who had just successfully changed jobs. But once their strength reached level 30 or above, guns were no different from toys in front of them. Kensen raised his sword and was ready to kill President Ji when suddenly, one of his men rushed over and informed him that the two boys were not at the villa. Although Kensen was annoyed upon hearing this, he decided to let President Ji live a little longer. After all, killing him would be equivalent to cutting off Ye Lin's weak spot. But if he doesn't annihilate everything about the Ji family, they will eventually come back and seek revenge in the future. Kensen plans to use President Ji to lure these two boys out and then eliminate them together. In less than half an hour, all the people in the Ji family villa, except Ye Lin's father, turned into cold corpses. When Ye Lin and Ye Lin returned to the residence of the Ji family, they instantly felt that something was off. The guards stationed outside were missing, the entire villa was eerie quiet, and even the lights were off like there was a power outage. Ye Lin suddenly smelled a strong stench of blood and immediately rushed inside with a sense of dread. He told Ye Lin to prepare himself mentally as he switched on the lights. Ye Lin was stunned, staring at the horrifying scene. The bodies of the job changers and servants hired by the Ji family were everywhere, with broken limbs and arms scattered all over the ground. Many people had fear written all over their faces, as if they had encountered the most terrifying evil spirit before they died. Ye Lin took a few steps back, his face ashen as he tried to deny the reality. They must have entered the wrong place. This wasn't his home. Ye Lin warned him to be careful as he screamed in fear, frantically rushing towards his father's study like a madman. There was a piece of paper on the table not far from Ye Lin. Picking it up, he called Ye Lin to come take a look. Ye Lin rushed over, seething with rage. The letter informs them that if Ye Lin wants to save his father, he should bring Ye Lin to the underground black market to find him. Also, with every 6 hours, he will cut a piece of flesh from his father. Ye Lin's anger was maxed out at this point. He tore the letter in half, vowing to kill Kensen with his own hands. Ye Lin was about to go find Kensen to fight him to the death when Ye Lin grabbed his shoulder. He stated that everything happened because of him, so he will go save President Ji while Ye Lin finds a place to hide. Ye Lin wasn't having it, so Ye Lin skillfully knocked him out. He apologized and promised to bring his father safely. Ye Lin laid the unconscious Ye Lin on the sofa and left the villa. Ye Lin promised to show Kensen how terrifying a cursed master who doesn't care about his freaking life is. Meanwhile, at the darkest heart of Qingcheng underground black market, Kensen's men were spread all over the place, alert and armed. A black shadow crossed the night sky like a ghost and landed silently without alerting any guard. Ye Lin was wearing black clothes and black shoes, and his face was wrapped in black cloth. Ye Lin completely blended into the night. Although the guards were many, if he could sneak in quietly and catch Kensen off guard, he might actually have a chance to kill him without any fuss. But just when Ye Lin was thinking about this, the next second, one of the guards suddenly turned in his direction, staring directly at him. Shocked, Ye Lin couldn't understand how. He had hidden perfectly, so why was he discovered so easily? The leader pointed his gun arrogantly at Ye Lin and informed him of the hidden camera above his head, also questioning which era Ye Lin was from to be hiding in the shadows like that. Apparently, the entire place had surveillance cameras with infrared night vision. Sure enough, Ye Lin was still a little careless. But it doesn't matter as long as he kills all these people. The guy told him that their boss had been waiting for him. As 3 of the guards approached him, Ye Lin, seeing no point in silently sneaking in, decided to just rush in directly. Since Ling Yi has already taken a lot of blame for his misdeeds, he was not afraid of him taking the blame for the assassination of Kensen as well. But this obviously needed to be under the premise that no one present could escape alive from the underground black market tonight. Otherwise, the secret of his immortality will be exposed. Also, since he's been discovered, he felt no need to disguise himself anymore. Ye Lin removed the mask covering his face and began to perform intricate signs with his left hand leisurely hidden from view. Then, very abruptly, he activated a forbidden spell, the Burning Reincarnation. With the support of 5 pieces of equipment with mental power boost, coupled with his own astonishing 1088 points, Ye Lin's mental power was currently at 2,176 points after activating the burning cycle. At this moment, the group, who had no idea what kind of terrible monster they were facing, saw a line of blazing fire gushed out from Ye Lin's palms. The purple-red flames was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to burn everything in sight. Seeing this, the 3, already aware of Ye Lin's troublesome nature, immediately opened fire. However, the shots fired were dodged by Ye Lin with ease even though the bullet were ineffective against him. Activating another forbidden spell, the fire of karma burning the sky, Ye Lin sacrificed his left kidney this time around since the right one just grew back. With the blessing of this terrifying mental power, this karmic fire that burned the sky seemed to light up the entire night sky. And the flames spread extremely quickly and engulfed all of the group in a blink of an eye. All the screams, wails, and cries for help were swallowed up by the flames, leaving only the crackling sound of the burning fire. The remaining 2 guards charged forward, deciding to attack from the flank. But before they could even comprehend what just happened in the next few seconds, Ye Lin, performing the fleeting dance technique, maxed his current speed and was upon them in an instant. He grabbed the 2 by their faces with the blazing flame gushing out from his palms. Then shortly after, their entire body was engulfed in a sea of flames. After wailing a few times, the 2 died a painful death, leaving their charred remains. Ye Lin dashed out of the blazing flames without a backward glance, silently vowing to show Kensen that his master had arrived. The moment Ye Lin got close to the main building, the door was blown off to bits as the air suddenly became violent, gathering together to form 2 sharp wind blades which cut through the night sky and head straight towards Ye Lin. Fortunately, with Ye Lin's quick and nimble movements, he was able to dodge with little effort. He was also quick to notice that the attack was from a wind type awakened, obviously a job changer above level 30. At the entrance, 2 job changers were patiently waiting for him. The swordsman mocked Ye Lin and called him a bastard for daring to come there alone. Wasn't he afraid for his life? Hearing this, his fellow spearmen laughed and reminded the swordsman that their boss wanted Ye Lin alive. The swordsman assured his brother not to worry because he doesn't intend on killing Ye Lin. He will just have some fun with him as a warm-up. On the other hand, Ye Lin drew his falling star warblade, and in a cold tone, warned the 2 about their rotten luck. They were about to face him with his sword. The moment Ye Lin unsheathed his sword, the curse spell of the life sword was naturally activated. He told the 2 to come at him so he can see how many times he can slice them up. Activating his wind magic, the dragon pistol, the spearman launched toward Ye Lin, promising to wipe that arrogant expression off his face. Ye Lin blocked the attack and countered with his first sword. The moment he did, the swordsman suddenly appeared behind him with a powerful wind blade strike. Luckily, Ye Lin's fleeting dance was faster, so he was able to dodge and even counterattack with his second sword slash. Although Ye Lin was fast, his counterattacks were weak and could only manage to scrape their skin. The 2 mocked Ye Lin for his mediocre skills. However, Ye Lin, fully aware of the 99 stacking effect of the Yangsho sword technique, told the 2 to be patient. They will soon learn of his sword skills. His third sword was blocked by the spearman, then the 4th sword slash was blocked by the 2 simultaneously. But at this point, they began to notice something strange. Ye Lin's attacks had become powerful and were difficult to block. On top of that, his swordsmanship was also becoming sharper and profound. The 5th sword soon followed with a deafening clunk, then the 6th sword and the 7th sword. On the 8th sword strike, the force was so powerful that it shattered the swordsman's weapon and trashed him a couple distance away. Shocked and alarmed, the spearman called out to his brother in panic. Faced with the blessing of just the 8th level of the Yangsho sword technique, neither of them had the power to resist. Ye Lin, really feeling the intensity of the 8th strike, grabbed his chest in pain. But as he approached the spearman with an evident killing intent, the guy questioned him about what kind of sword technique he used, and how it was even possible that it became more and more powerful with each strike. Under the reflection of the wind blade, Ye Lin's expression looked extremely cold as he replied that the guy didn't need to know. The sound of a sharp blade cutting flesh was heard as blood spurted out like a fountain. Ye Lin killed the guy with a casual slash of his sword, and as the guy's lifeless body drops to the ground, his brother let out a gut-wrenching roar, calling Ye Lin a devil. He wasn't human and will die a miserable death. Hearing this, Ye Lin gave him a cold look but said nothing. He activated the burning reincarnation curse spell and made a quick work of the guy, incinerating him into a charred steak as his wails got swallowed up by the flames. Ye Lin walked away with an aura of superiority, coldly reiterating his earlier statement that no one there could leave alive. He entered the huge building and wasted no time eliminating everyone on each floor. During this period, he encountered job changers above level 30, but facing a forbidden spellmaster who was impossible to kill, and whose curse spells flew all over the sky as soon as he attacked, even a job changer above level 30 was powerless. His life-for-life fighting style made it easier to eliminate job changers at level 30 or so. Of course, Ye Lin also paid a price. His body was covered with countless horrific wounds that were enough to kill him, and was pierced by countless weapons. He also had countless scars from ice and fire. But in those moments, Ye Lin was like a Shura who had crawled out of the underworld to claim their lives. He killed his way in, asking where Kensen was as he went along, but he soon ran into real trouble in the form of Zhai Shochi, a level 42 job changer who stood in front of him like a roadblock. This man was tall and strong like a towering mountain. His face was full of murderous intent, and his eyes flashed with amusement. He was holding a huge battle axe, and his whole body exuded a powerful aura that was bone-chilling. Zhai Shochi called Ye Lin a brave kid. After all, as a famous thug in the underground black market, it has been a long time since anyone dared to come to the underground black market alone to cause trouble. But looking at Ye Lin, whose body was covered with all kinds of knives, bullets, sticks, swords, and halberds, Zhai Shochi couldn't help but wonder why the kid wasn't dead yet. What was his secret? Ye Lin couldn't help but feel alert. He knew that this was a powerful opponent and he had to be careful in dealing with him. The axe alone looks like it weighs several hundred kilograms. Ye Lin assured Zhai Shochi that his secret will be revealed if he put down the axe. Of course, Zhai Shochi disagreed. If Ye Lin wasn't going to talk, then he will just have to kill him and study him slowly. Zhai Shochi rushed towards Ye Lin with the battle axe in hand, then produced a strike that literally shook the entire building and sent debris flying in every direction. Ye Lin gritted his teeth and dodged the attack by activating his burning reincarnation and fleeting dance. Facing Zhai Shochi, he did not dare to underestimate him in the slightest. Also, after casting 2 forbidden spells in succession, his entire condition was instantly brought to the best. Seeing this, Zhai Shochi scoffed and questioned Ye Lin how long he can last by burning his vitality in exchange for combat power. Suddenly, he blitzed towards Ye Lin with his battle axe, smashing down with so much force that Ye Lin was instantly thrown off the moment he raised his sword to block. He even spurted out a mouth full of fresh blood, and before he could get up, Zhai Shochi was upon him with a knee strike, landing squarely on Ye Lin's abdomen. However, Ye Lin still charged forward as if nothing had happened, swinging his sword wildly to stack up his attacks. But the few exchanged didn't have enough power as a force even more terrifying than before burst out from Zhai Shochi's battle axe and swung at Ye Lin, who was attacking him. Zhai Shochi's battle axe continued to hammer down, disarming the falling star warblade in Ye Lin's hand. Ye Lin's face was extremely solemn at this point. As expected, a level 42 job changer was indeed extraordinary. Even with the 99 layers of Yangsho sword technique combined with his burning reincarnation and fleeting dance, he was no match for Zhai Shochi. However, Ye Lin's advantage was his burning immortality. Zhai Shochi used his previous momentum to smash hard on Ye Lin's shoulder, producing a teeth-grinding sound of bones cracking. The sound of Ye Lin's shoulder bone and clavicle breaking under the attack made him spat out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body was trashed across the room like a cannonball, hitting the wall not far away heavily. Zhai Shochi approached Ye Lin's brutally battered figure, a bit disappointed. He was just warming up, but Ye Lin was already down for the count. Ye Lin agrees with this assessment. When fighting a close combat expert, his sword skills were severely lacking. Nonetheless, he still had his trump card, and Zhai Shochi should remember that he was the one who forced his hand. As Ye Lin slowly got up, the shoulder injury quickly recovered, along with any other internal injuries inflicted upon him. Because what happened next was so jaw-dropping that it even seemed excessive. Ye Lin did not hold back at all and attacked with all his might, sacrificing everything he could, and I mean everything. Liver, left lung, stomach, right kidney, gallbladder, duodenum, pancreas, spleen, large and small intestines, you name it, it's probably in there, just to summon the legendary world-destroying thunder. You see, forbidden spells were not omnipotent, so no matter how powerful a forbidden spell was, the person who casts it must be strong enough. Ye Lin's actual level was only 16, so naturally, if it was an ordinary thunder, it would definitely be difficult to cause too much damage to Zhai Shochi. However, this sacrifice made to summon the world-destroying thunder was expensive and enormous, so its power was obviously unfathomable. When the familiar chaos thunder came crashing down, Zhai Shochi's eyes widened with an overwhelming fear, and it didn't take a genius to know he was fucked in every way possible. Although he had his divine physique which could still resist a portion of the attack from the chaos thunder, it was definitely not even close to enough. The world-destroying thunder crushed into Zhai Shochi's body, wreaking havoc. It took less than a second for it to vaporize the upper half of his body to dust, leaving a hand on his battle axe and his lower half, which soon followed. Ye Lin's swordsmanship may not be good enough, but his chaos thunder summoning was a whole different matter. Now, if there was anything Zhai Shochi wanted to know, he can go ask the King of Hell. Groaning in pain, Ye Lin proceeded to the next floor, feeling a little lightheaded. Sacrificing too many organs at once really did a number on him. Meanwhile, in the presidential suite under the same building, Kensen, clearly unbothered, was leisurely having a fun time with one of his many women even though he'd been informed that there's been an intruder. He believes Zhai Shochi, being a mini-boss, was more than enough to deal with whichever nutcase dares to come to his domain, after the intruder happens to defeat all the men in the building, of course. Anyway, the important matter at hand was whether his little plaything wants to have a taste of something delicious he's got for her. The woman, Miss Chen, caught on what Kensen was implying and was fully on board. But before the two could get all naughty, Ye Lin barged into the suite like an enraged bull, and like a Kensen's personal cockblocker, he spared no time demanding where President Ji was. Pissed off, Kensen got up and approached the little brat, a bit baffled that he was able to make his way to him. Kensen asked where Zhai Shochi was, but it was clear that Ye Lin was done with the idle talk. With his sword in hand, he leaped high in the air and swung it down, declaring that his precious little pet was dead and he was next. Kensen just laughed at the sheer audacity of this little brat, and casually grabbed the sword with his bare hands. After all, he wasn't the underground king of Qingcheng for show, and there was a long list of people wanting to kill him, but unfortunately, Ye Lin wasn't worthy. Kensen then grabbed Ye Lin by the neck and spared no time exerting his dominance. He told Ye Lin to learn an important lesson to never fuck with him in his next life. Kensen activated a heavy power skill named the Breaking Gasp and crushed Ye Lin's throat without breaking a sweat. He drops Ye Lin's lifeless body to the floor without a backward glance, annoyed for wasting his time dealing with such worthless inconvenience. However, to his shock, the little fucker wasn't dead, but even had the energy to get back up. And on top of that, all the injuries on his body seems to have been healed somehow. Kensen questioned how it was even possible. Ye Lin was super dead. He made sure of it. On the other hand, Ye Lin just scoffed at Kensen's temper tantrum. Why would he be dead when he hadn't even had any fun yet? Ye Lin sacrificed his left eye and activated the curse spell, the Eyes of External Freeze. He froze Kensen's legs within an ice prison, and this freaked the hell out of the so-called underground king of Qingcheng. He questioned what kind of curse spell Ye Lin used and why he couldn't move at all. Obviously, Ye Lin ignored the question and asked one of his own. He wanted to know where President Ji was. Kensen refused to reveal where he was keeping President Ji as a hostage, and Ye Lin made him pay dearly for it. Activating his burning reincarnation, Ye Lin set the poor bastard's arms on fire, and the flames burned them wildly as he wails like a woman in labor. However, during Kensen's wailing session, a dull thud sounded as knees hit the floor behind Ye Lin. Miss Chen, pointing a loaded gun at the back of a tied-up President Ji, demanded that Ye Lin let his lover go. Otherwise, she will kill President Ji. Seeing this, Ye Lin casually remarked on how Miss Chen wants to be all righteous for her man. He extinguished the flames and suggested an exchange of hostages. Miss Chen immediately pointed the gun at Ye Lin the moment he started to slowly approach her. She warned Ye Lin not to come close or she will shoot. Ye Lin questioned Miss Chen if she didn't want to exchange hostages. Arrogant as always, Kensen stated that he didn't need a woman to save him. However, he still wanted to protect Miss Chen, so he told her to get out of there. But the damn woman didn't listen and suddenly pulled the trigger, firing 3 shots that hit Ye Lin squarely in the stomach, chest, and left shoulder. He drops to the floor as Chen rushed to Kensen's side. Kensen calls her a fool for not leaving like he told her. The little brat she just shot wasn't dead. This revelation shocked her greatly. And at the same time, Ye Lin had already gotten up and made his way to President Ji's side. He then casually used the Eyes of External Freeze curse spell and froze both hands of Miss Chen together with her gun. She couldn't hide her shock as the only thing fueling her fake bravado got neutralized real quick. And the moment Kensen pleaded for her, demanding Ye Lin come at him and leave her alone, his head was cleanly severed from his body. Ye Lin's blade flashed with a starlight, and Kensen's desperate pleas stopped abruptly as Ye Lin just coldly remarked that he was being noisy. The underground king of Qingcheng died with his eyes wide opened, and Miss Chen just stared at the scene in absolute disbelief, unable to comprehend what she was seeing. With tears in her eyes, she let out a scream. Ye Lin just straight up ignores her as he made his way to President Ji's side with an expressionless face. Miss Chen, in a defeated tone, questioned if Ye Lin plans on killing her too. Hearing this, Ye Lin just sighed, carried an unconscious President Ji on his shoulder and walked off. He told Miss Chen to not have such silly thoughts because he doesn't kill women, and if her lover hadn't kidnapped President Ji, he really wouldn't have been his enemy. He then tells her to leave the building. Miss Chen was speechless upon hearing this, and it's unclear whether she listened to Ye Lin and left the building, because shortly after cleaning house, Ye Lin incinerated the entire building with his hellfire, leaving no evidence which could be traced back to him. The entire black market was shrouded in karmic fire, turning into a sea of fire. And with that, the once largest sinful city in Qingqing officially came to an end. The very next day at the Ji family's residence, President Ji finally woke up after his treatment. Lying in bed with his whole body wrapped in bandages like a mummy, President Ji was fortunate enough to have his severed hands also reattached and healed. Ye Lin burst out in tears seeing his father finally awake. He thought he would never see him again. President Ji comforts his son, reassuring him not to worry. As long as he was still alive, the Ji family will be fine. Then, his gaze shifted to Ye Lin with evident doubts and curiosity. He was comatose during the whole incident and didn't know what really happened. President Ji wanted to know just how on earth Ye Lin rescued him. Ye Lin nervously scratched the back of his neck and replied that he wasn't very clear about the specifics of the situation either. The entire rescue mission was done by his good friend Ling Yi. He was the one who saved him from Kensen and burned down the entire black market. Upon hearing about this mysterious Ling Yi, President Ji, although grateful and lucky to still be alive, wondered where Ling Yi came from and why he had never heard of him. Ye Lin was not sure about Ling Yi's identity either, and given how he had only known of his existence for a short time, he doubts Ling Yi will reveal his identity to him. President Ji took the hint and asked no further questions. If Ye Lin doesn't want to talk about it, then this old man won't ask. But the most urgent matter was the college entrance exam. Ye Lin and his son should not delay. The two reassured President Ji not to worry. There was still 27 hours before the college entrance exams begins. And besides, they had prepare for the exams and will not disappoint him. But just then, 3 men in dark suits and dark glasses showed up at the villa. Invited inside, the 3 walked in confidently and disclosed that they were from the investigation bureau. Officer Huang took out an arrest warrant and presented it to Ye Lin, adding that he was suspected in the involvement of a major murder case in the city. They needed him to come with them to assist in the investigation. A visible bead of sweat trickled down Ye Lin's cheek. He didn't expect the investigation bureau to come so quickly. Nonetheless, it was too risky to openly resist arrest. So Ye Lin decided to go along with them first, then decide his next course of action as the situation develops. As they led Ye Lin out of the room, Ji Lingyu questioned the officers why they were arresting his boss. The officers remained silent as Ye Lin just casually stated that the two should remember to pick him up at the investigation bureau. President Ji reassured Ye Lin not to be afraid. He will find the best lawyer who can definitely get him out. Meanwhile, as the scene shifted the Zhuge family's villa, Zhuge Qianqing knocked and informed her daughter at the door that there has been another news about Ling Yi, the guy she has been damn near obsessing over. Hearing this, Zhuge Nini got all excited like she'd received the best news of her life. Her father had to even remind her to change clothes first before heading downstairs, where Officer Huang from the investigation bureau was waiting. As Zhuge Nini heads to her closet to change, her father left her room with a heavy sigh. He closed the door and began to cough violently. Taking out a key from his pocket, Zhuge Qianqing, with a knowing look in his eyes, stated that he didn't expect Ye Lin to be able to take out Kensen single-handedly. But at the moment, what's got Zhuge Qianqing all serious was that he didn't have much time anymore. Seriously, when will Ye Lin be willing to take up on his offer and ask him for help? He wondered, and apparently it seems Ye Lin's secret was not that airtight after all. Meanwhile, at the Qingcheng Investigation Bureau stood a tall, magnificent and imposing building, designed to be intimidating. Inside one of its special solitary cells built by the masters of material science and architecture, it was a pipe dream to think of breaking out by force. Ye Lin sat in the only chair in the cell as the iron door slowly opened, revealing a man with his face concealed by the shadow casted. Ye Lin calmly stated that until his lawyer comes, he won't say anything, even though he'd guessed that President Ji's connections and lawyer probably won't be enough given the number of people that died. The guy, clearly annoyed, walked in, and before Ye Lin could utter another word, he was grabbed by his jacket and lifted up in the air. The guy demanded Ye Lin tells him where that thing was. Obviously, Ye Lin was totally clueless. He questioned through his ragged breathing, wanting to know what the guy was referring to because he sure as hell didn't know. But this answer only enraged the guy who thought Ye Lin was playing dumb. He threatened to gouge Ye Lin's eyes out if he continues with the act. With little effort, he slammed him directly into the wall. Ye Lin felt like he'd been hit by a truck. It was then that the guy, in a cold tone, explained that Ye Lin should hand over the key. Kensen died by Ye Lin's hands, so naturally, the key must be with him. Back then, Ye Lin did not take anything from the underground black market in order to avoid leaving any trace or evidence. So even if there was a key, he burned it to ashes. However, he couldn't show any abnormality, otherwise this guy would definitely take ruthless action against him, which would either expose the secret of his immortality or be blind for the rest of his life. Since the guy didn't want to hear the truth, then he will play along. He told the guy that the key was with him but not with him. And if the guy continues with his ruthless behavior, he will make sure he never finds it. Originally, Ye Lin planned to stay in the investigation bureau until the college entrance exams, but now it seems that the place he thought was the safest was actually the Dragon's Den. He never imagined that the deputy director of the investigation bureau was actually connected to Kensen. Realizing this, he still had the balls to demand that the guy takes him out of the investigation bureau before anything else. He gritted his teeth when the guy grabs him by the hair and gave him a solid punch on his left cheek. Ye Lin spat out fresh blood as he silently comes to terms that the officer had no martial or moral ethics. The guy coldly asks if Ye Lin was sure he wants to leave the investigation bureau at this time, because he will become a wanted criminal and definitely won't even be able to take the college entrance exams. Ye Lin pursed his lips. It seems as if this was really a dead end with no chance of breaking out of it at all. In his opinion, the strength of the tall and thin man in front of him was even more terrifying than Kensen. Whether he fought or fled, he obviously wouldn't stand a chance. On the floor, he raised his hand for a timeout. He wants to make a call. The guy took out his phone and stated that if Ye Lin had been this cooperative from the start, then he wouldn't have to suffer. Ye Lin took the phone and started dialing. Inwardly, he vowed to pay back this grudge tenfold. 10 minutes later, someone walked inside the cell, and this person turned out to be none other than Zhuge Nini's father, Zhuge Changxing. The moment he entered the cell, he told the officer to pound sand with his flattering. Anyway, he brought the key he so desperately wanted. In Zhuge Changxing's hands was the key, and he spared no pleasantries as he handed it over. But on the way out, the officer wondered why he was helping the little brat. Zhuge Changxing just replied that it was none of his business. He'd already given him the key and their deal was done. So with that, the guy apologized and made his exit. Ye Lin, although excited that his interrogation was over, wondered how Kensen's key appeared in the possession of Zhuge Changxing out of nowhere. Did he just entangled himself in some conspiracy? Ye Lin just feigned an innocent demeanor and thanked Zhuge Changxing. If it weren't for his help, he would have been in danger. But Zhuge Changxing wasn't buying that bullshit act. He straight up explained that he saved Ye Lin for his own selfish reasons and not for the goodness of his heart. Besides, if the secret of his immortality was made public, all the powerful people in the entire Daxia, and probably overseas, will come to kill him. This revelation was like a sledgehammer hitting Ye Lin in his freaking face. Zhuge Changxing actually knew about his immortality. What should he do? Should he kill him? After all, he'd never told anyone because he knew very well that an innocent man was guilty of possessing a treasure. At such a close distance, if he was to take advantage of Zhuge Changxing's unpreparedness and summon the Chaos Thunder with its strongest power, he should be able to severely injure or even kill him. But then what? What should he do after killing Zhuge Changxing? Feigning confusion, Ye Lin tried to play dumb, but Zhuge Changxing wasn't buying it. Just now, there was a flash of killing intent in Ye Lin's eyes. Was it directed at him? It seems that he guessed right. Ye Lin was indeed immortal. Just when Ye Lin was considering whether to take action, Zhuge Changxing continued confidently. As expected, if you eliminate all the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how unbelievable it is the truth. Ye Lin had an immortal body, yet he was so weak. It seems that the legends were true. Ye Lin asked what Zhuge Changxing wanted from him. And upon hearing this, Zhuge Changxing replied with a question of his own, wanting to know if Ye Lin was willing to be his disciple. Hearing this, Ye Lin was truly puzzled. He didn't even know what he needed to do as a disciple, and how would it even benefit Zhuge Changxing anyway. Zhuge Changxing gave a slight cough and explained that he didn't have much time left, and wants to take in a disciple he can entrust some tasks before he takes a permanent nap. Curious, Ye Lin wanted to know what could be so important. Zhuge Changxing then took out a key exactly the same as the one he just handed over and gave it to Ye Lin. Ye Lin was stunned. Could it be that there were two keys? As if seeing Ye Lin's confusion, Zhuge Changxing explained with a smile that he gave a fake one to the officer. It was made with great effort by an old blacksmith friend of his. Anyway, the key was the real ancient key of the apocalypse. Ye Lin couldn't help but look at the key in his hand. The whole key was made of bronze and had spots of rust on it, but it contained an ancient and mysterious aura. You see, this world originally had no monsters or job changers, until the day the Gate of Apocalypse descended, and 7 ancient artifacts of origin fell out from behind the Gate of Apocalypse and scattered around the world. Each of them had completely different abilities. The first 7 people who obtained the ancient artifact of origin became an extremely powerful forbidden existence in their own rights. After the Gate of Apocalypse opened, changes began to occur in the entire world. Humans were able to change their jobs, and all kinds of strange and powerful monsters and copies appeared one after another. During this period, countless horrific wars broke out between humans and monsters, and between humans themselves. Even the ancient artifacts of origin were shattered. Now, the existence of the ancient artifacts of origin was just a legend. And this ancient key of apocalypse is the key to opening the door of apocalypse. Zhuge Qianxing asked again if Ye Lin was willing to be his disciple and help him. Ye Lin thought for a moment. Now that Zhuge Qianxing knows his secret, it was not like he had a choice. Ye Lin accepted to be Zhuge Qianxing's disciple, but he was not sure he could accomplish the task his master just asked. Zhuge Qianxing laughed and placed a hand on Ye Lin's shoulder. When did he become so humble? With his current strength, if he enters the Supreme Academy to further his studies, his future will be immeasurable. But before anything else, there was one more thing Zhuge Qianxing wanted to entrust to Ye Lin. What is it? Ye Lin asked with evident curiosity in his eyes.